Hey, hi there. It's Bridgette. Welcome to Above Life Channel. The purpose here at Above Life Channel is to inspire your spirit and to fill you with hope. Today we have an afterlife celebrity guest, as we always do every Monday. Okay, so, all right. I have been wanting to talk to David Bowie since the beginning of the year, and I'm going to bring him in today. There's been a ton of stuff going on astrologically. If you follow astrology, you know that like Saturn's returning in March. Now, I'm not an astrologer. But I understand that there is a lot of information and that astrology is a great tool. For me, it's all just energy. And so that's how I interpret it. But I know that there's some stuff happening because of the galactic, of the cosmic, of the cosmos, and our connection to that. Some people would refer to this as starseed. Some people would refer to this as just simply energy and vibration. And so I thought, let's bring in David Bowie. I usually like to chat with him about kind of the whole year ahead and kind of maybe even predictions, which I don't do. Even though I'm a psychic and a medium, I don't really believe in like, this is set in stone predictions. This is what's going to happen. I believe that there's some patterns, there's some probabilities, and that you and we're creators. Like we have free will, this brain thing, which does often screw us up at times, but we also have our spirit, our soul that will help guide us, inspire us, and direct us as best it can through our intuition. So we got our brain and we got our intuition. So sometimes those two things seem conflicted or contrasted. And that's in part what Above Life Channel is about, to help you understand your own intuition and all the access to all the energy and all the external stuff that's impacting you internally. Because it is. You're an empathic person, which means you sense and feel energy. That's why you watch me, because that's how I connect. Okay. All right, so let's bring in David Bowie. If you're not a fan, it doesn't matter, because there is information from the afterlife. There is guidance that these celebrities do have access to, and they bring it through in kind of their own unique persona or personality from their human life experience, blended with this higher vibrational energy of what happens, how you ascend or transcend your human experience as an afterlife spirit. So you may not recognize how he speaks or what he shares directly from his human personality or persona, because he's also spirit. And now he is like this ascended kind of energetic. And when I connect with David Bowie, the piece as a soul, the piece that I connect to is the star energy piece, which affects everybody. So again, that means universal consciousness, that means access to energy, vibration, things that are happening beyond our human cognition, kind of a thing. Okay, so it can be deep, it can be very philosophical. So let's bring him in and see how this feels, shall we? Hi, nice to see you. Okay, so yes, I wore red because it will ground me. Because whenever you and I talk, he kind of laughs. He goes, "You think that'll work, huh?" "You think that'll work," he says. Because it feels like it grounds me, right? When Bowie comes in, he comes in a little purple and a little blue. So the purple energy, I speak a lot in color. If you're new here, I talk about color because color is energy. It's the best way for me personally to translate energy and vibration into a human context. Your brain understands color. So it's a way for me to help you apply the spiritual concepts and principles that I'm sharing. Apply the energetic information and awareness. Because if you can't apply the stuff I'm telling you or we're talking about, what's the point? Okay. So that beautiful purple is that crown chakra energy, which is often associated with divine guidance and wisdom, which means you're tapping into all-knowing, basically, right? It's like that grand library of information and that internet in the spiritual realm. And yeah, that can sound a little overwhelming, but don't worry, because you have filters. And that blue energy is the third eye. So these are two chakras, energy centers of your body, the crown chakra and the third eye. So David brings in both of those two together. So there's a visual context here and there's a wisdom, access to just knowledge. So you have access to wisdom and knowledge, and the visual representation of what you see is at play here for you. Okay, so third eye can be clairvoyance, which happens to be one of my dominant gifts. It's I see, I'm so visual, which is very helpful because it I think helps to translate things into a real life human context for you also. So, okay. It's kind of that theme. He literally says, what you see is what you get. Or is it? Is this what we're going to talk about? I wanted to talk to you about 2023. I know it's March, but it's been a minute since we've chatted. And there's been a lot of stuff going on. He says, what you see is what you get, or is it? Yeah, can you talk about that? That's good. Okay, this is the theme. What you see is what you get, my friends. So if you're journalers and you're following along with your journal, write that down. What you see is what you get. This isn't a fact. This is a question. He says it's a query. It's a query. Nice use of words, David. It's a query. So what you see is what you get. How do you guys feel about that when we say that? Let's give it a moment to land. I see some red energy that's grounding it in or dropping it down from the mind, the heart, going all the way into your body so you can feel it and sense it in your body. What you see is what you get. Is this about actions speaking louder than words? Is this about behavior? What is this about for you? This is a question. He's like pausing, giving me additional information about this topic, different ways to consider this or contemplate it. It's really important because from a teacher standpoint or a working with spirit or afterlife as guides to expand our awareness, it helps us to use our mind and to use tools like journaling or contemplation in a way that isn't a spiral of like down the drain energy, but a spiral of curiosity energy, inquisitive energy. That's healthy. And curiosity and inquisitive energy is a great way to begin to work with your intuition and start to sense what is right in alignment for you, because that's all that matters here, your interpretation of the information that comes through. So let's talk about this a little bit more here. Let's feel it. So to me, it feels like trust. Like one of the core energies that comes in is this question of trust, which we've all had. We've all been on both sides of that scenario, have we not? Where it's about, do I trust, or am I trusting, or am I trustworthy, worthy of trust? What is that? Ooh, that's a tough one. That is one of my core life themes is trust and being able to afford myself personally the deeper connection and relationship to self is with trust. Trust inside, trust inside in you, trust in you. He says, good, very good. He says, all right, so now what is it for you? There's a profound connection. What you see is what you get. What does this symbolize or represent to you? Viewer, what does this symbolize or represent to you? This is part of how you get your customized message during these channeling videos. So practice this. Practice your intuition, viewers, okay? Practice. Straight away, I see a yellow energy, solar plexus, which is not an action-based energy, let me say. Action is more of a mind physical perspective, wherein what you see is what you get. The energy of your solar plexus, your spirit, that yellow energy at your soul, is like an eye unto itself, an eye. It sees in a different way. It's more of a sensory ability to see. Tell me more about the see. Okay, David, he says, your ability to sense is innate. It is given. You all have the ability to sense. And the sight or the seeing isn't about external forces or images. This is David Bowie. He says, your ability to see is to know yourself to the extent of having such a known connection that when you are in your awareness, everything is clear. Everything that is important to you is clear. The things that are unimportant or not truly what matters to you will be not clear. So part of the reason why I'm going to use the word fuzzy, we're fuzzy about situations, scenarios, and people is because we are mixing in their desires, needs, wants, projections onto us with our own internal information about the scenario, the situation, or the person. Does that make sense, people? Do you feel that? That's kind of brilliant, actually. So tell us more about our soul and the sight. What you see is what you get inside. It's the ability to see, he says, like, think of it like this. And I literally see with my third eye, a big like searchlight, like when there's something fabulously important going on, there's a big searchlight and it's pointing up at the sky and it's like bringing you to an event, like in Hollywood, or to a car dealership to buy cars. And there's like searchlights and they're kind of moving, or spotlights. I don't know if they're called searchlights or spotlights, but they're pointing up to the sky and they're huge lights and they're kind of just gently moving and kind of flowing like that. He says, picture your spirit at the base of your belly. So just below the belly button, like there is this big light and it points upward. And he says, that's intentional because it illuminates you inside. This is part of the piece that you are learning about here and now. And he says, this is part of the light you up and illumination. So there's a word that's coming through. I really like this illuminate word. If you like it too, or if you like any of the words that we're sharing that are coming through vibrationally, just jot them down, because it could be an additional medicine for you. It could be some alchemical code word for you in your spirit. It could be something you can use with your mind to unlock resistance. In the future, you can journal about these things. Use the content here for your own personal development. Please, that's the point of the Above Life channel. This is free for you, so you can claim the power over your own learning and your personal growth and your beautiful connection to yourself through your soul. Okay, your spirit. All right. So he's showing me that, and he's showing me this just illuminated, your whole body illuminated from your belly up, just illuminated. And he says, and that's clear. It's so bright. There's nothing in its way. It's just so bright. Like, he's like saying, yourself, But when that light isn't pointing up and is pointing out, all you can see is like this blinding reflection back of these shadows that, or disruptions that come in. Like, think of a light, and then somebody walks in front of the light and there's kind of a shadow that's cast like that. And it just kind of creates this spotty representation of things, of energy. It covers a certain thing that you can't see then. And it becomes a little more chaotic. Okay. So when that energy of your spirit is what you see is what you get, it's turn that up, turn that spotlight inside you at your solar plexus up so that it can be clear the path from your heart, which is extremely key in relationship emotionally. He's talking about the fact that emotion and energy is connected to that water element. And he says, and that emotional piece has been by design to keep you clear, to allow things to move and flow and move and flow, and not be this intensity that it has become. And it's become intense because you as a human, this is David Bowie talking, you as a human have been processing through your mind, pushing information into your heart space, which is bumping up. There's creating friction between your mind and your heart because the emotions want to move and the mind wants to compress the emotion so that there is very succinct, rational action that is taken. And there's a fear little bit of competition with the mind, not certain what's going to happen if the heart rises up, if there's an uprising in the heart. And it's not necessarily control, it's much more about managing. And this piece where the mind thinks the heart is like a toddler and the mind is the adult, and there's a hierarchy from the mind's perspective. And your job as a soul is to shine the light up from your soul all the way up. And then that creates this integrity and this balance of the energy, and everything is in the light and everything is illuminated. Nothing is shadowed. Your heart isn't shadowed. Your mind isn't shadowed. There's not an adversarial context to energy that's flowing inside you. And you have the full capacity to allow yourself to trust that you do have the power and the sovereignty. That's my word. He says the power to focus that light. You have the power to do that. It might feel overwhelming at first because there is such a powerful flow of the light. He says the light is just it's beamed. It's just like instant. It's not even a flow. He says it's just there. And that can be like, wow, shocking at first. Which is why it's important to do things like grounding exercises and walking and yoga and things to help balance the energy. So it's not just going up, it's also rhythmically moving back then through your body. And then he says both sides of the body, the masculine, the feminine, the transcendent energy in the center. And he says this is the light quotient, this is the luminosity. And that is what creates the clarity. And can you trust that? Can you trust it? That is the challenge. That is the challenge. Mm-hmm. So what does this have to do with like astrology and the whole Saturn return thing, or like external energy, like the cosmic energy stuff? Because that clearly has been at play in our human experience. And you're talking about our internal stuff, and what you see is what you get inside, and really focusing on the inside. And I understand that. And you understand that too, because part of the work I do isn't just as a psychic medium, it's as a life coach, to bring the spiritual and the energy into a state where our mind can understand it so it doesn't resist it constantly. So you're working together. And the model that I use is mind, heart, body, and soul. 4 parts of you. All those parts of you are equal. And they all have a right, a say, a part. They are a part of the relationship with yourself. All right. So can you give us any cool galactic info or intel or anything about like, let's just say, other planetary stuff and weather balloons and things like that? Can you talk about that? Because I think that's curious. And I think there's an aspect of spirituality and an aspect of humanity in that, without getting too like off the deep end kind of thing, we don't get too weird. Can you give us any intel about the cosmic energy? He says, what do you want to know? How is that at play going to affect us? Like, how can we harness it? I don't want to know like, oh, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. I don't want to know all the challenges, because we already know that life can be hard and we expect that there are challenges. We don't want to hyper focus on those. We're not ignoring them. Okay. The deal is we're not ignoring challenges. It's part of life. But give us some support as to how we can manage things and flow with, and maybe leverage the stuff that's coming out or around us energetically, instead of trying to hide from it or keep it away. What can we do? Yeah, he says collectively there's new paradigms that are coming into place, and there's multiple things. He shows me 3 like pillars that are being set into place. These are massive shifts in our thinking and the way we approach our lives. And he says, yes, this comes through what you've seen as disruptions, like very simply showing like disruptions in service and certain products not being delivered to market, and not enough drivers or not enough nurses or not enough teachers or all this kind of stuff. He says it is a sort of a collective scarcity response to the structures changing. And he says it's not that there's going to be all of a sudden a new thing that's going to come in and take over everything. He says it's not that clean. That's not how it works. There's not this new earth world all of a sudden going to come in and take over and everything's just going to be this new thing. That's not what happens, he says. That is not accurate as to through the human lensing of things, how it affects or impacts you. And he says astrologically, the Saturn return piece is pivotal for many people and it will affect structure. It's not something to be feared. It is change. It is simply change. And you know and understand change, although you might have change fatigue, he says, or exhaustion from all of the change. He says, so it is a great opportunity for you then to tap into what matters to you, what goals you personally have, what dreams you've had, what new desires or wants have been born out of this time of challenge and trial, to give you then a new refreshed focus about yourself, a perspective about yourself. He's like, don't hold on to the old versions of you that have created the life you have. Allow yourself to evolve and change within the life that you are living now. It could be a new hobby, as simple as a new hobby, or a different genre of book that you read, or some new friends that you hang out with, or a different type of exercise instead of the same old, same old. It can be simple and subtle. It doesn't have to be a massive overhaul. But for some, he says, they are all about the change and they are ready for it, he says. And so some will radicalize the change or the opportunity. They will see and point out for you as a society the gaps in what was and what could be or should be based upon individual, personal groups, or opinions. Be cautious of that because it doesn't mean that is how it should be, or that's what's happening or going to happen. There's a projection happening with these groups, with these interest groups, with these individuals in your life that rise up and really project more of a catastrophizing, a very traumatic expression that's coming from their own wounding, and they are bonding through a collective wounding from this whole COVID experience that you've all had. And it's amplified the wounds that you've had around scarcity, lack, and power of authority. And there's a projection of people taking away your power when the truth is nobody can take your power. You have power. You just have to tap into your power. You have to shift with one of those three kind of pillars into a different place to access your power. It might not be overtly obvious to you that it's right here. You might have to get creative, be more open, be uniquely innovative, and tap into your soul self to get access to new information that you haven't had before about yourself, not about all these other people and trying to figure out their jam so you can adjust yourself to get your needs met. Don't do that. He's saying the old ways of reading people. Oh, this is freaking fascinating. You people need to listen to this, especially those of you who are psychic. Listen to this. The old ways of reading people or scanning an environment or feeling people out, it's not accurate. Because what's been happening is you then adjust yourself. You go into yourself, you put on a different outfit, and you come back out to meet that need or expectation. And he says that isn't going to work anymore. The alignment inside yourself, the beaming up, the full luminosity of you, that is the way for you to move ahead, for you to feel powerful, inspired, happy, hopeful. If you continue to try to basically manipulate energy, and he uses the word manipulation of energy by reading and then changing, he says you can read and scan and get information. That's fine, so that you have knowledge for yourself. But you don't change. He said the part that you can't do anymore is to change yourself. It's manipulative. It's game playing. It's part of the conspiracy. It's part of the control. You're doing the same thing that you're judging other people for when you're doing that. you say you're protecting yourself so you can show up in a way that's palatable to other people. But when you're doing that, and if you have to do that, that means you're not around the right people. It might mean massive change for you. Different job, different career, different life, different city, different friends. Yes, it might mean that. That's a harsh reality for you. That's a harsh reality for you. But if you're manipulating for good, it doesn't matter. He's like, it doesn't matter the outcome. It is the way you're doing things, the way you're showing up, the way you are utilizing the information that you have available to you at this time. He says, that's what matters, is that the moment to moment to moment, not the outcome, not the ends justify the means. That doesn't work. That's how power plays have happened. That's how countries have lost their sovereignty and been overtaken by dictatorship. So you are playing into the same energies. Again, it's not about not accessing or ignoring energetic information. That's not what he's saying. And it's okay to scan. It's okay to know. It's okay to protect your energy. But it's not okay to adjust your behavior to play in that realm in ways that are manipulative. You bring yourself and you do not compromise your integrity, because that's what has happened in the past. You only bring one part of yourself and you hold the rest of it back because you know that's not going to be acceptable here. But you don't walk around just telling everybody everything either. There's a balance here. You have to use a sifting. He's showing me like a filter. He's literally showing me like a little filter, like a little shaky filter, like you're draining the vegetables kind of thing, or you're sifting the flour like that. You get to sprinkle you around your essence and energy. You don't have to give it up. Oh, this is the part they want. I'm just going to give it to them. That's what's been happening in the past. It's not about that. You are the home base. You are the light. And utilize the discernment to bring yourself forward in ways that are compatible with the environment, but not to sacrifice any part of who you are or pretend to be that which you're not. That's not going to work anymore. That illusion isn't going to work for you. It's going to feel bad, he says, and it will amplify guilt and shame. And that is what is used by powers, higher powers that are not so good energetically, collectively, to control, to use, to manipulate. Okay. So be in your conscious awareness. Don't be afraid, but acknowledge that your change state is yours. You get to decide. And you can harness and resource things that you haven't had before, had access to. Just be open to the new things. Get curious about things. And don't be so focused on the external, figuring out the external. Focus on knowing yourself internal, so that when things come in that affect you externally, they hit you hard, like a job loss or loss of a relationship or a diagnosis or something like that, you are in yourself solid. There's a trusting within yourself that you have a soul that's guiding you, a mind that is fully on board and not being an asshole. And you have a heart that is filled with loving, supportive energy for yourself. And that and your body to hold you, that's the way. That is the way. It's always been the way. And now it's more important than ever to honor all the aspects of you, body, mind, heart, and soul. Mm-hmm. Thanks, David. High five on that. That was awesome. Thank you for being here on Above Life channel. I do weekly channeling videos, usually on Mondays. Don't miss my Sunday morning coffee podcast. Sometimes it's audio, sometimes it's video, and hopefully I'll be able to do some more live streams again soon. I have been not available on Sundays and Mondays lately. It just seems like appointments and things are happening that I just haven't been available. So I hope to get into some live streams as well. If you're looking for me on social media, you can find me at Bridgette Inspired on Instagram, or Bridgette Inspired on Facebook, or Above Life channel, also on Facebook. All right, I do private sessions, not to channel celebrities, but for you. And I have a couple of different service options that you might be interested in at different price points. So check that out in the description below. Thanks for watching.